Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm sorry I had to run out for a second, but I know that I asked questions of all the segments yesterday in yesterday's hearing regarding faculty diversity and really trying to see greater improvement on that front. Just wanted to just cycle back with you all to understand what's been done. It doesn't seem like the numbers have very much improved over the last 20 years, and tangibly what will be done in the future to ensure that our faculty is much more reflective of our current workforce, our current state, and frankly the students that they're teaching.
All right. Well, I could start with that. I heard the discussion yesterday and tried to pull some information together.
I wish I were here yesterday.
You should watch it.
That makes two of us.
So it's pretty good. Yeah. So I did go back to collect some information that we have just to set the numbers that we have in context. And you're right, we have room for improvement. But if I look at the proportion of female faculty, what we've seen are increases across all fields over time. 2014 data shows that 31% of our UC faculty are female. And if I look at the comparison aid institutions, the ranges that we have within there are 21% to 33%. If I look at the proportion
sorry to interrupt, when you say faculty, are you talking tenured faculty, tenured track faculty?
Ladder rank faculty.
Ladder rank faculty, and that includes tenured track faculty as well as tenured faculty. Thank you.
And then if I look at the proportion of Chicano Latino faculty, that's slightly increased over time, but African American faculty has remained constant. If I look at the overall underrepresented minority percentages.
What are those percentages for Latino and African Americans?
I can give it to you for the total that I have, and I can get the breakout. But if I look at it right now for underrepresented minorities, it's 9%. And again, for the comparison aid institutions, it goes from 5% to 10%. We do recognize that diversity doesn't reflect the diversity of our student body. And there are multiple programs that we're working on. And if I could talk about a few of those, and then we could give you a deeper briefing on what they are. But some of the programs that we have that are in place that are trying to make improvements in those areas, one of them is the President's Postdoctoral Fellowship Program. And that one encourages outstanding women and minority PhD recipients to pursue academic careers at UC. This program's been quite successful. 75% of PPFP fellows received tenure track appointments, and since 2003 there have been over 100 former fellows that have received faculty appointments at the University of California. In 2014, President Napolitano expanded her commitment to the program by providing $5 million in one-time support to focus on 3 areas: hiring incentive startup packages, salary for additional faculty hires, and resources for training, mentoring, and development. So that's one example. The other one is advanced paid, and this one focuses in on trying to improve the proportion of female and underrepresented minorities, particularly in STEM fields. It's one where UC has received a grant from the National Science Foundation to hopefully make the diversity of our faculty in those fields closer to alignment for the state of California. With that program, there are a couple major components. One of them is UC Recruit, which is a system that will allow us to collect consistent data across the UC campuses. And with that, what we'll be able to do are identify places where we've had successes in faculty recruitment and try to identify best practices from there. The other component of that is a California Challenge. It's a roundtable series that we have where we're bringing faculty, academic administrators, and subject matter experts together across the campuses to talk about things like research-based data collections for faculty recruitment and best models for mentoring faculty. The third one I'll mention is one, again, focused on recruiting STEM faculty. This is another grant we've gotten from the National Science Foundation, and it's going to be a 3-year project that's specifically focusing on studying equity, inclusion, and diversity practices in faculty hiring process. The study is going to focus on the steps of the UC hiring process that are most susceptible to bias and the characteristics of the hiring process that amplify and mitigate disparities, and will identify, among things, targets for policies that will help promote equity, inclusion, and diversity. There are a series of other programs that we have here, and we can give you a full copy of those, but those are few that are there. The last piece that I'd say is we've put in a request for additional graduate enrollment. And when I look at the EDD data for our master's and PhD recipients, a significant proportion of those, particularly in arts and humanities and social sciences, but also in physical sciences and life sciences, they go on to work in California higher education systems. That's teachers that are in our 2-year and 4-year institutions, and that group is going to be able to help add to the diversity that we want to have in our faculty.
No, thank you. And I know I understand there's a $6 million additional request from the governor's budget regarding graduate enrollment. My concern, and I'd like to get a further breakout by racial ethnic group, by campus, and also a look back to see where you were in 1985 or 1990, because it doesn't seem like there's been much progress yet. I know during this time there's been significantly more graduate students graduating with degrees. So I guess part of my question is, what happened to those students for the last 20 years?
So we do have one dashboard in our UC Information Center that focuses on faculty progression and diversity, and we have seen some changes over time. We could send that to you so you could see that.
I want to mention that although Nathan and I were not here yesterday, we have great colleagues who were here, and I don't want them to start throwing darts at me to make sure that Ryan Storm and Nicole Munez Murillo, they have done a great job at prepping us for today. And so the reality is that with respect to our women faculty members in the California State University, we've actually seen an increase. It's a small increase of 3% from 2010 until now. That's been strategic in terms of some of the work that's been done, and I'll share with you in just a moment. In addition to that, we've also seen...
They were at what percent to what percent?
They were at 43% in 2010, and now they're at 46. We're at 46%.
And these are, again, lateral rank faculty.
Say it again.
These are lateral rank faculty. They're not including lecturers, part-time.
Correct. These are tenure and tenure track faculty members. Correct. And with respect to some of the work that we've done in increasing a presence of race ethnicity, faculty by race ethnicity, we've seen since 2010, and I can modest gains, certainly with respect to our Asian faculty members. In 2010, we were at 15.8%, and now we're at 18%. With the Latino Hispanic faculty members, the gain has not been as great, but in 2010 we had 8.5% and now we have 9%. Where we absolutely have got to do more work is in the area of Black and African American faculty members, where we were in 2010 at 4.1%, we're down to 3.6%. And I can give you more examples of other racial ethnic group data that we've got here. So part of what we're doing to work with our campuses includes mandatory training for search committees, deans, and chairs with regard to the recruitment of underrepresented faculty, and obviously how to go about that without violating Proposition 209 in terms of getting the faculty into our respective campuses and more. We've created opportunities for more visible and definitive statements from top campus administrators, including our chancellor, regarding the importance of recruiting underrepresented faculty to serve our students. The addition of diversity advocates and equal employment designees that serve directly on some of our search committees to provide oversight and guidance on ways to expand our pools and create criteria that are more favorable to efforts of inclusion and report irregularities to campus officials. And then lastly, the required use of the updated online recruitment modules that's created by our Chancellor's Office to ensure that there's greater diversity across our faculty. I can say as well that one of the topics that we're preparing now in working with our provost at our next meeting is that we're having a panel discussion on ways that we really can improve diversity with a specific focus on especially our Black faculty members who oftentimes, as you well know, based on the fact that there are so few African American faculty members who hold the PhD status, that it becomes really easy for them to make choices outside of the CSU because they have so many more choices where campuses are really trying to recruit those faculty members. But we know that there are some strategic ways to get those faculty members interested in us, and that more importantly, we're not only looking at the recruitment side, but we're focusing on the retention side. That really is important for us, that once we get faculty, be it of color or not of color, it's important to ensure that we are implementing strategies to retain them.
No, I understand there's been a pipeline argument. I've heard it for 20 years, and like I said, we've seen significant increases in graduate students, PhD graduations during that 20-year period, but what we're not seeing is the similar bump. I think, again, we've seen progress, but there is a long, long way to go. And I appreciate both segments and the programs you've outlined. I would really just urge you to go back to your segments and say, this is a crisis. This is not. You have significant retirements coming up. You have a huge opportunity. You know that once the faculty get hired, they get locked in, if they're good, for the rest of their life. These are potentially, if done correctly, lifetime appointments. So it's a real opportunity to change the face of the universities that clearly it doesn't feel like there's a sense of urgency regarding it. So I would really urge you both to be going back to your segments and say, my preference would be much rather that the two segments come back with a really aggressive plan rather than us in Sacramento try to figure out what an aggressive plan will look like and start to implement it that way. I really prefer the bottom-up approach. Mr. Skinner.
And from the community college perspective, you can imagine with 113 colleges across the state, it can be a very complex story, and it varies from place to place. And rather than getting too deep into it, I would just say we have identified this as a problem in our system. There is a significant gap between what our faculty look like and what our students look like, and that is not only an equity issue as an employer, but it's a student success issue. There's a lot of research that shows that students having role models on faculty that they come from similar backgrounds that look like them can be a significant factor in driving success. And so we have a couple initiatives underway. We realize that between the enrollment growth that's coming to us in the budget and also retirements, our colleges are going through a massive wave of hiring. We're estimating it's 1,100 new faculty will be hired this year, and about 2,500 over the next 3 years across the system. And so what we've done is we've used the Institutional Effectiveness Partnership Initiative that I talked about before as a way we set up, there are 9 statewide and regional trainings in best practices around equal employment opportunity policy and practice to try to gear up a focus and create that urgency for our colleges that as they make those hires to do so with these goals of diversity in mind. And in addition, we have some statewide resources that are available that we've used to bolster. There's a statewide recruiting service. And where we've asked that it's one of our districts that does this under contract, and we're working with them to increase their outreach to different communities to really get the word out about these employment opportunities. We realize we're at a moment in history when we are in a significant way shaping what our colleges are going to look like for decades to come, and we want to take advantage of that.
I agree, and I understand that you can't break out all your colleges this second, but if you can get that information to my office, would love to look at it by campus as well as overall. I think the numbers are quite telling and quite fascinating. But again, I mean, what I heard today wasn't a state of emergency approach. What I heard today is like the ship's moving and we're just going to keep moving in this direction. And I think if we keep moving in this direction, I think, the people who succeed me in 20 years are going to be here asking the same questions, wondering what happened. Because these are issues that I worked on when I was a student at Cal. And, we were told the same thing, not enough graduate students, not enough PhDs, not enough this, not enough that. Well, I'm not buying it. And even we get criticized for a lot as a legislature, but even the legislature is more diverse than your faculty, which is pretty shocking. And boy, if you're behind us, boy, that's a problem. So again, this is something that we'll be looking into. I'll be looking into for during this year. I think we'll be having a lot of fun together, and we'll be looking forward to a further discussion. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. If other members don't have any other questions or comments, we do probably have a few people from the public who wish to share some public comment. We will certainly entertain that now. We're running late, so we'll ask you to keep it about 90 seconds, about a minute and a half per, if you can do that.
Good afternoon, Erica Romero on behalf of the Association of Independent California Colleges and Universities. We represent 78 WASC-accredited not-for-profit institutions. We are the fourth segment of higher education in the state. We educate 188,000 undergraduate students. Of the four-year segments, we educate the highest percentage of African Americans and educate a higher percentage of Latinos in the four-year segments than the University of California. We are committed to diversity. We also serve 28,000 Cal Grant recipients, which adds greatly to our diversity. 39% of those students are Latino, 17% are Asia Pacific Islander, and 8% are African Americans. We also educate 144,000 graduate students. That means we confer 55% of all the graduate degrees in California. And as we discuss teacher preparation and shortage issues this year, please note that we educate 42% of all of California's teachers. And so when we talk about the teacher shortage, this state cannot fix the teacher shortage without us. In 1955, the Cal Grant program was created because there was a recognition that the publics did not have the capacity to serve all of California students. That remains true today. As AICCU institutions, we remain committed to working with you to educate California students. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is John Zimmerman. I'm president of MTI College in Sacramento, a for-profit college, and I'll get to that in a minute. But I have potentially three great pieces of news for you. Number one, the year-round Pell has been reinstated for the summer awards. It's there. Number two, there is a great dashboard, a wonderful dashboard.
Can you go back to that? The summer Pell?
The summer Pell's back.
Really?
This year. So that's new. Number two, the dashboard you're asking for, it's already there. It was created by the United States Department of Education. It just came live last year. It's a wonderful tool to find out any information you want. It's not laborious. You can go in, you want to find out the graduation rate, you want to find out the average student loan rate, you want to find out the placement rate, you want to find the average earnings 10 years after graduation. It's there. But back to the biggest news I have for you is the for-profit schools. There's a lot of news about for-profit schools. Sacramento Bee had a front page story today. But for all those big chains, there's dozens of boutique for-profit schools, like MTI College here in Sacramento. We're a 2-year accredited by the same accrediting body that accredits the community colleges, and we offer very focused educational programs, and our students are very successful. I've been there for 39 years. I started there when I was in college. It was started by my parents, and my son, I tried to talk him out of it. He's there now. He's been there for 7 years. We do a great job. Our numbers will prove it. And just one data that came off that college scorecard, 10-year graduation, after graduation, what is the income of our graduates, the average income of our graduates 10 years after graduation? It's number 2 in this city of all the colleges. Number 3 if you include UC Davis. We're number 2. Sac State, the average income is $50,400 10 years after graduating. They offer graduate degrees, bachelor's degrees. We don't offer those. We're certificates. Our student income is $43,200. The for-profit schools are good vehicles, and that's the greatest news, is there's at least 50,000 students attending schools that are getting Cal Grants, for-profit schools. You're backing our school with the Cal Grant program. It's a great investment, and I hope you'll continue it. I hope you'll bring us to the table and keep us there and not look at the big guys and say we're all the same. We're not.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Amparo Diaz. I'm here on behalf of the California State Student Association. First and foremost, I would like to thank you all for your continued support of the CSU and its students. For the first time in 10 years, the CSU received its fully funded budget request last year, and that couldn't have been made possible without the hard work of these committees. It was that investment last year that allowed the CSU to enroll nearly 12,000 newly eligible students. And without that crucial funding, the CSU might have only been able to enroll roughly 4,000. Given the conversation today about degree shortages, it is critical that the state fully funds the CSU again this year, as the CSU is going to play a critical component in decreasing the degree shortage expected to come. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair Member Sarah Arce on behalf of the Campaign for College Opportunity. I'd also like to thank you for convening this conversation. I think we very much appreciate the focus on ensuring that California has the educated workforce it needs to meet future economic demand. As recently demonstrated in our report, access denied, California students are being turned away from our public universities through no fault of their own. At the same time, we have students at the community college level hoping to meet our future workforce needs, but finding themselves being caught in a remedial sequence that they often don't move out of. We're at a critical junction in terms of the budget and policy actions we take today could determine the future well-being of the state and of entire generations. And so we call upon the legislature to invest in growing capacity to serve the growing demand for a UC and CSU degree, in growing Cal Grants sufficient to meet student need, and in reforming the remedial education pathway. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Matthew LaRock with the Institute for College Access and Success based in Oakland. Financial aid was not officially part of the agenda today, but when it comes to persistence and completion, I just want to give a shout out for it because it's a really important part of the equation, particularly for low-income students. My organization, TICAS, did an analysis recently that shed some light on some troubling affordability challenges for our lowest income students. That's a regional analysis. I have copies here today if you're interested. And just a couple things from those findings. Across the state, we found that community college is very often more expensive than either public university option, and that's driven by the fact that non-tuition costs can make up more than 90% of students' total cost of attendance, and there's relatively little state aid to help with those costs. And secondly, we often talk about how work can help students fill the gap in affordability, but we know that students working more than 20 hours per week are often much less likely to graduate than those who work less. And at many of the community colleges, the number of work hours needed each week can exceed 35 hours a week, which is far too many. So we look forward to remaining engaged with the legislature about how the state can particularly strengthen Cal Grants to address some of these challenges so that those students can limit their work hours and focus on their studies. We know that these two committees have been strong proponents of that, and we thank your leadership on this issue and hope to remain engaged.
Thank you.
Chair McCarty, Chair Medina, members of the committee, my name is Larry Galizio, and I'm the President and CEO of the Community College League. We represent all 72 community college districts, and I was going to do a 10-minute dissertation about why the community colleges, or what we could do with the $20 billion in your suitcase, but I know it's very late in the game. So my elevator speech is that one means to really help increase capacity and student success and graduation, and the focus of this hearing would be to support Chair Medina's two bills that focus on what the last gentleman just talked about, which is the up to 90% of the costs, the non-tuition costs, especially for our community college students, childcare, transportation, textbooks, living expenses. Those are the costs that really are prohibitive for many students and increases the fact that people drop out and don't persist. If we want to increase completion and persistence and earn degrees and certificates, Assembly Bill 1721 will increase and strengthen Cal Grant B for community colleges, and then 1892 will help with those career technical students with their costs for equipment and for living. And I didn't want to. I wish it were true that the summer Pell had indeed been passed at the federal level. That is really not accurate, unfortunately, but the good news is everything that we heard when we visited Washington, D.C., and all three sectors are lobbying as hard as we can because we know it's so critical for completion. It's bipartisan at this point, but it has not passed. If if we can get a little bit bipartisanship and move the Higher Ed Reauthorization Act, it will indeed, I think we will see it, but it unfortunately has not passed yet.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is Trump for it? Okay. I'm known. Thank you for participating today. Any final comments? Okay, we'll adjourn.